This conference will now be recorded.
Good morning. Hope all of you are listening to me. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Fine. Once again, welcome to online digital class on electronic circuit analysis. Today, we shall look at feedback amplifiers and oscillators. Hope all of you will have exams at some point. Anyhow, now let's move to business. This part we have seen, this is the classification of amplifiers. In last class, we discussed, at least we revised multi-stage amplifiers and high frequency analysis. Now, moving to this particular session, essentially, we concentrate on feedback analysis and oscillators. To start with, to get the idea of feedback amplifiers, it is always better to start with classification of amplifiers based on input and output resistance. This classification is not seen until now. Probably this is a new classification. Anyhow, the amplifiers are classified as voltage amplifiers, current amplifiers, transconductance amplifiers, transresistance amplifiers. Now let's look at what is the meaning of voltage. Don't assume that for a current amplifier, voltage gain is zero. Nothing like that. These amplifiers may have voltage gain as well as current gain, or they may provide power gain. Then why these names? What is the reason, rationale behind this classification? Let us see. Now, look here. This is the equivalent circuit or schematic representation of a voltage amplifier, like a circuit representation of a voltage amplifier. Basic idea is, in a voltage amplifier, the output voltage must be directly proportional to source voltage. That's the idea. That's how we define voltage amplifier. What is it? Output voltage must be directly proportional to source voltage. And this is the amplifier part. That's how we represent the amplifier part. Now look, this RS is source resistance, RI is input resistance, and this is being amplified. You can use any amplifier here, C amplifier or cascading amplifier. This is a basic representation. What is R naught? R naught is the output resistance, RI is the input resistance. Now in this diagram, if I want V naught directly proportional to Vs, what I need is this Rs must be zero. What is Rs? Source resistance. When Rs is zero, Va becomes Vs, and here you get AV times Vs. And if R naught is zero, once again, what is V naught? Simply it becomes V naught equals to AV times Vs. But practically, every source will have source resistance. Every amplifier will have output resistance. It may be low, it may be high, no problem. But it will have output resistance. So therefore, essentially, this cannot be zero. This cannot be. This will not be. This will never be zero. Then, what should be the characteristic of a voltage amplifier in terms of Ri and Rs? My requirement is V naught must be equals to AV times Vs. AV is a application factor. It may be a number, 50 or 100 or 1, whatever it is. or sometimes for some average maybe less than 1. So I cannot take RS 0. Then the presence of RS, what will happen if RS is there? Part of the source signal will be lost, part of the energy will be lost here. So remaining part will reach to input terminals of amplifier. That is being amplified, you get AV times VA. Then part of it is again lost at output terminals. Remaining energy will reach to V0. So which means my V0 is not directly proportional to Vs. There would be some losses input side as well as output side. Again, still this is a voltage amplifier, but this is not a good voltage amplifier. Now, what is a good voltage amplifier? This loss across RS must be 0. Whatever you get here, that must be reached to load terminals. That must be the characteristic of good voltage amplifier. Now, for that requirement, since I cannot control RS and I can control my RA, I can either increase input resistance of an amplifier, I can decrease its input resistance, but I cannot deal with this RS. It depends on source, type of source. So for a given source, what I'm going to do is I make RA as large as possible. I make RA as large as possible. I'm going to somehow assume my RA is large. So therefore, what will happen? This RA comes in series with RS. So you know what is you can simply apply voltage division. Since this is RA very large compared to RS, what will happen? Most of the energy reaches here, and again that will be reached here. Now assume somehow I made my R naught as small as possible. Again the loss will be less here, so that most of the energy will be amplified energy will be reached to load terminals. So for a good voltage amplifier, RA must be very, very large compared to RS. R naught must be very small compared to R. That is the fundamental requirement. Then sometimes we may speak in terms of ideal voltage amplifiers or ideal amplifiers. And then what is ideal voltage amplifier? An ideal voltage amplifier is the one for which RA is essentially infinity. When RA is infinity, simple. This almost appears like an open circuit. Entire there will be no loss here since there would be no current. So entire Vs comes to input terminals. And the other requirement for ideal voltage amplifier is R naught must be 0. When R naught is 0, the amplifier energy will reach to load terminals, will be available at load terminals. So therefore, you need to remember two things. What is good voltage amplifier? What is ideal voltage amplifier? A good voltage amplifier is the one for which RA is very, very large compared to RS, and R naught is very small, very, very small compared to RL. Whereas in case of ideal amplifier, this RA must be infinity, R naught must be 0. So many times you may be asked what are the even in YVOS, lab YVOS or somewhere, what is the voltage amplifier? What are its characteristics? What are ideal characteristics of voltage amplifier? Like you may be faced these kind of questions. Please be aware of these facts. Similarly, the second amplifier, this class, that's why that I told you this classification is done based on what? Input and output resistance. For a voltage amplifier, input resistance must be as high as possible, output resistance must be as small as possible. Then what is a current amplifier? In simple terms, the output current in a current amplifier must be directly proportional to IS. This is a schematic representation. Okay, for the sake of simplicity, I have taken a current source here. So anyhow, the load current or output current must be directly proportional to source current. That is the fundamental requirement of current amplifier. In that case, what are the requirements in terms of input and output resistances? You can easily guess. In this schematic, RS comes parallel to, since I have taken current source, I have taken RS parallel to parallelly, so that now I need entire IS to come here, or most of the IS to come here. What is the requirement? Okay, you know, our current is always choosing low resistance path, RI must be small, whereas this current, output side current, the amplified current is represented as AI times II. This should reach to load. That means R0 must be large. When R0 is large, most of it will reach to Ri. So therefore, what are the requirements of good current amplifier? Ri must be very small, R0 must be very large. Coming to ideal current amplifier, Ri must be, you can easily guess, Ri must be 0, R0 must be infinity. Any amplifier, take CE amplifier, whatever it is, any amplifier whose input resistance is small, whose output resistance is large, can be treated as a current amplifier. Please make this point. Please note this point. A current amplifier doesn't mean that voltage gain is 0. It's not like that. A current amplifier is the one for which Ri is very small, R0 is very large. Any amplifier which possesses these characteristics can be considered as current amplifier. Then moving to other two types of amplifiers. Next one is transconductance amplifier. Here, the basic idea is output current must be directly proportional to source voltage. Then the amplification factor GM, simply I'm saying output current must be directly proportional to source voltage. Therefore, amplification factor of transfer function is given by output side. I am speaking in terms of current. Input side I am speaking in terms of voltage. Therefore, the transfer ratio or transfer gain, this time I am getting a unit based quantity. Unlike voltage gain, current gain, which are unitless, this particular case has units, that is given by GM, ampere per volt. GM is called as transconductance. Anyhow, the basic idea is output current must be directly proportional to source voltage, and you can easily guess the requirements. Input side I have taken voltage, output side I have considered current. So therefore, the input resistance must be large. What about output resistance? Can you guess? Here I have taken current source. I need this energy to reach RL. So what must be R0? Should it be large? Should it be small? It should be large. In fact, very large. When this is large, use simple networks knowledge. Then what will happen? This entire current reaches to RL, load. So therefore, for a transconductance amplifier, Ri must be large as well as R0 must be large. Similarly, therefore, an ideal, you can easily guess, you can easily think in terms of ideal characteristics. Ri should be infinity as well as R0 should also be infinity. Those are the characteristics of ideal transconductance amplifier. Coming to last one, transresistance amplifier. Output voltage must be directly proportional to source current. That is the fundamental. That's how its nature can be defined. So therefore, I am leaving it for you. What are the characteristics of good transresistance amplifier as well as ideal transresistance amplifier? A simple answer is here. The transfer ratio is given by RM, transresistance, which is defined as V0 by II or V0 by IS. The transfer ratio, it's like for a current amplifier we keep AI here. For a voltage amplifier we keep AV here. Whereas for transconductance amplifier we keep GM, we keep RM here. Fine. Now there could be various applications. Sometimes I need a voltage amplifier, sometimes I need a current amplifier. In some applications I need a transconductance amplifier or transresistance amplifier. Always we need good amplifiers, if not ideal amplifiers. Ideal amplifiers only provide reference. You can never make ideal amplifiers. Rather, we need good amplifier. Suppose I need a good voltage amplifier. What to? Simply, I'm going back. I need a good voltage amplifier. C is a voltage. C basically gives voltage gain. But what is the nature of input resistance of CE, output resistance of CE? For a good voltage amplifier, essentially one would require Ri very large, R0 small. If I use C amplifier as voltage amplifier, let us see what we have. Ra comes around 1 kilo ohm. It's not good. Rather, it's not a large, even large. It's a medium value. At the same time, R0 comes around 50 kilo ohms. It's not that high, that small. Again, this is a moderate value. So, somewhere in some application, I want to use my CE amplifier as voltage amplifier. The characteristics, it provides voltage gain, fine. The characteristics are not matching good voltage amplifier. Ra is not large, R0 is small. So what to do? I am going to use some kind of feedback. Now, essentially, this gives the basic idea of feedback. One can use feedback to alter the characteristics of any amplifier. To use feedback to CE amplifier or CC amplifier or whatever it is, for any amplifier, one can use feedback to alter the characteristics. What is the meaning of altering characteristics? Voltage gain can be changed, current gain can be changed. At the same time, frequency response can be altered. Do you understand? Moreover, this Ri can be changed as well as R0 can be changed. Thus, a simple voltage amplifier can be made or can be made a good voltage amplifier by introducing feedback in my circuit. Then that's the basic idea of feedback. Why we need feedback? We can alter amplifier characteristics in desired manner. We can drive any amplifier into a very useful amplifier. Do you understand? Fine. Now let's move to what is the meaning of feedback. Got it. Is fine. Now, what is feedback? Simple. Take any device, take any amplifier, any device, electronic device. We usually fed the device with input energy and you get some output energy. Now, feedback means part of the output energy or entire output energy is bring back to input. Already you are feeding your amplifier. So what is the feedback here? I'm going to bring part of the output energy to input so that entire input energy without feedback will be modified. This energy can be voltage or current. So what I'm going to do? I'm going to bring output voltage to input side or I'm going to bring output current to input side in order to modify input voltage or input current. That's what feedback means. I can perform feedback in two ways. One is in constructive manner, destructive manner. What is the meaning of constructive manner? When you apply feedback, input voltage can be increased. Suppose without feedback, input voltage is, say for example, 1 millivolt. Once I bring output signal to input, the total input voltage may become 1.1 millivolt. This feedback is called as constructive feedback. On the other hand, you can also reduce input voltage. Say for example, instead of 1 millivolt, after application of feedback, it may become 0.9 millivolts. This is destructive feedback. The destructive feedback is called as negative feedback. The constructive feedback is called as positive feedback. Now, why we go for feedback? Already we have discussed some aspects in terms of amplifier characteristics. Sometimes we need the gain may not be constant due to many operating conditions. You know why this happens in your EDC course. The gain may change due to temperature, due to aging effects, or due to sometimes may need to change some of the failed components, which will have effect on gain. So what we expect is when you design an amplifier, its gain must remain constant forever. Gain should not change. That's the basic idea. That's how we expect a behavior of amplifier. But for some reasons, gain will be changed sometimes. So what we need to do? We need to minimize that change. The second problem generally we face in amplifiers is because the transistor is a main element in amplifier is the transistor, which is a non-linear element. The non-linearity of transistor may provide some kind of distortion in the amplifier output. We know what is the meaning of distortion. Now the output shape is not exactly same as input shape. In that case, you say the distortion is presented in output. So this is again some inherent problem. It may happen now and then. So what we need to do? Somehow we need to minimize this distortion. Moreover, because of electronic components like resistors and transistors, internally noise may be generated. Sometimes it may also be amplified. Internal noise within the amplifier, which is generated in various components, may be amplified by transistors. This should also be minimized. So these problems can be minimized if we introduce feedback. Then what is feedback? I told you already. What is feedback? Fraction of output energy is given back to input in a constructive way or in a destructive way. This is the meaning of feedback. Now, basic types of feedback. Coming to basic types of feedback, when the feedback energy aids input signal, we call positive feedback. When feedback energy opposes input signal, we call it as negative feedback. And negative feedback, okay, anyhow, you can bring output voltage or you can bring output current. You can alter input voltage, you can alter input current. Based on this, are you listening? I have got some kind of sound. Hello? Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Oh, fine. Thank you very much.
It's audible.
Fine. There are two types of feedback: negative feedback and positive feedback. Positive feedback essentially used in oscillators. Negative feedback essentially used to alter the characteristics of amplifier, and moreover, negative feedbacks provide better stability and amplifier performance. One can achieve more stable amplifier, whereas positive feedback is different. It is used in different applications. In order to generate sine waves, we go for positive feedback, which are known as oscillators. So this is one important aspect in this chapter. So you may be asked occasionally why we need feedback, what are the types of feedback, etc., etc. Do you understand? Now, so let's look at positive feedback and negative feedback in an alternate way. This is a feedback path. We call this as a feedback network. Probably EC or in CS. Someone is having problem with their mic. Please mute your mic.
Yes.
I got continuous noise. Please do it first. OC4, please mute your mic. Please mute your mic. Okay, fine. Thanks for cooperation. Anyhow, this is feedback path where through which we bring output signal to input side. Assume for the timing that there is no feedback. Now, what happens when you give input signal? You get amplified version. The output may be in phase with the input signal, or output signal may be out of phase. Means that for some amplifiers, the phase difference is 0. So for some amplifiers, phase difference is 180. Essentially, CE provides 180-degree phase shift. Assume my amplifier is giving 180-degree phase shift, so that in place of positive cycle you get negative cycle first. Okay, okay, this is a 180. This amplifier provides 180-degree phase shift. Now what I have done is I have brought this signal, part of this signal, again to input side, so that the input consists of source energy as well as feedback energy. Now what is the phase difference between these two? This is positive, whereas this is negative. That means there exists 180-degree phase shift between feedback signal and input signal. This already existed input signal. This is known as what? Negative feedback. This is known as negative feedback. That means my feedback network is not introducing any phase shift, so that the output of feedback network is in phase with output voltage, so that in turn it is out of phase with what? Input energy. So this kind of feedback is called as negative feedback, where there exists phase difference between feedback signal and input signal. On the other hand, this is different one. Assume my amplifier provides 180-degree phase shift, then this is being again shifted by 180 degrees by my feedback network, so that input and output feedback signals are in phase. This is one example of what? Positive feedback. Input and feedback signal are in phase, input and feedback signal are out of phase. So that's how one can understand positive feedback and negative feedback in terms of waveforms, input and output, input wave output and feedback waveforms. Now this is a generalized black schematic diagram of feedback network. An amplifier with feedback network. This is a basic amplifier. What could be A? A could be voltage gain. A basic amplifier can be voltage amplifier. It can be current amplifier. It may be trans resistance or trans conductance amplifier. That means the transfer function or transfer gain can be different for different amplifiers. For a voltage amplifier, A is AV. For a current amplifier, A is AI. For a trans conductance amplifier, this is GM. Whereas for trans resistance amplifier, this is a we write this as RM. This is a basic amplifier. It can be any one of those four amplifiers. Now, as usual, we may have signal source, which may be voltage source, which may be current source. Fine. Now, apart from this basic setup, a part is missed here, which is a load. A load can be usually, most of the times we take load as resistance. Sometimes we may have inductive loads and capacitive loads. Anyhow, RL is my load. In a simple amplifier, you have signal source, basic amplifier, load, and the amplifier characteristics are measured in terms of input resistance and output resistance. That's it. Now, in order to make it as a feedback amplifier, we need to introduce some of the other components. One is sampling network, other one is mixing network and feedback network. Though it is called as a sampling network, there is nothing like resistors and inductors. Here you may have connections. Similarly, in mixing side also, it is called as mixer network, but it is not a series network. It would make a proper kind of connection, series connection with the input or parallel connection with the input, which is usually called as mixing network. Whereas sampling network also, you may give some kind of connection between output side and feedback network input side. This may be parallel connection, this may be series connection. Parallel connection means the feedback network input is connected parallel to load, or feedback network input is connected in series with the load, which is called as sampling. So suppose when it is connected parallelly, I call it as voltage sampling. When it is called connected series in series way, I call it as current sampling. Similarly, when I connected the output side of feedback network parallel to input terminals, I call it as current mixing. If this is connected in series with the VI, I call it as voltage mixing. Anyhow, there could be two types of sampling networks: voltage sampling and current sampling, and voltage mixing and current mixing. Now coming to beta network, what is a beta network? What we may have, what is the purpose of beta network? The beta network has to modify output quantity of the amplified. Modify means entire output. If I am taking entire output energy to input, the beta network is a simply passing network. It has to do nothing. It has to. It's a simply it's a byte. There may be two bytes, so that output is connected back to input. On the other hand, most of the times we don't take entire output energy to input. Rather, we take a fraction of output energy to input. Then what could be this beta network? Beta network may be sometimes a resistors. It may contain one, not one, more than two resistors, or sometimes it may have two resistors. In some applications, beta network may have resistors, capacitors, inductors. But most of the times, beta network will not have any semiconductor devices like diode and transistor. Hardly you may have RLCs, resistors, inductors, and capacitors in beta network most of the times. Do you understand? So, and what it is supposed to do? It has to modify output voltage. Suppose output I'm mixing in form of voltage. It takes output voltage. Suppose output voltage is, say, for example, 1 volt. It converts that into 0.1 volt and it is given here. Apart from that, the beta network may need to provide phase shift. Output may be in phase here, output may be out of phase here. When you need not provide any phase shift, the beta network essentially consists of only resistors. Any resistive network will not give any phase shift. Output in a resistive network, all quantities are in phase. All voltages and all currents are in phase. Whereas if I want to change phase, I am going to use phase introducing elements like capacitors and inductors. So in simple terms, the feedback network consists of what? Resistors, inductors, and capacitors. Sometimes only resistors. So this is the, in exams you may be asked to draw generalized block diagram of feedback network. Explain each and every component. You must write. You must mention what should be this A. A can be AB, A can be A can be GM, A can be RM. So you should explain about at least 1 or 2 words about each and every network. This is one important question in the exam point of view. Now, from now onwards, for next few slides, we are going to discuss about negative feedback. Essentially, the unit 3 speaks about, until now, we talked in terms of negative as well as positive feedback. Now, unit 3 deals with negative feedback. Unit 4 deals with, unit 4 is the essential application of positive feedback. Now, I'm coming to another important aspect in all, even if you can remember, if you can recap control systems, you might have talked about this negative feedback characteristics. This is very, very important. Negative feedback always provides better stability or better control over my system. Now, what is negative feedback? A negative feedback usually reduces input signal or input energy when compared to a circuit without feedback. So this is the general what we have. This is input signal, this is feedback signal, so that the new input is a different signal where the difference is given by, you know, what is this difference? XS minus XF. If you find gain or transfer gain with feedback, AF represents transfer gain with feedback. This becomes A divided by, what is A? It's the gain of a basic amplifier. What is beta? This is, beta may be number, beta may be a complex quantity. Anyhow, beta is the some kind of transfer ratio corresponding to beta network. So you can consider this as a gain of, you should not call it as gain. Anyhow, for the time being, beta is the the transfer ratio of what? Beta network. Overall gain is given by AF equals to A divided by 1 plus beta A, where A is the gain without feedback, AF is the gain with feedback. Now what happens? The denominator has 1 plus beta A. That means if beta is a positive constant or a beta is a positive constant, this quantity is always greater than 1. That means AF is less than A. Now, again, there is another way to define positive and negative feedback. What is a positive feedback? If magnitude of AF is less than magnitude of A, we call it as negative feedback. If magnitude of, that means gain without feedback is less than gain with feedback, we call it as negative feedback. Otherwise, we call it as positive feedback. Now, there are two important terms always we use while we speaking about feedback amplifiers. One is loop gain. You can find a loop here. It's supposed to be almost these two appear to be at least in series. So therefore, when this is the scenario, what is loop gain? Here gain is A and this B, here gain is beta. So therefore, entire loop gain is given by beta A or A beta. This A into beta is called as loop gain, or it is also called as a return ratio. So we use this term so many times, loop gain. What is loop gain? A into beta. Is it tangible or not? Yes, it is visible straight away here. A loop, you can see a loop here. The second quantity is return difference. It is popularly symbol as the symbol for this return difference is D. And this is also known as desensitivity factor or simply desensitivity. 1 minus of beta A is called as D, or 1 plus beta A is called as D. You can see, you can write AF equals to A by D simply. What is D? 1 plus beta A. We understand. Now, let's look at characteristics of negative feedback. Obviously, negative feedback reduces the overall gain of the system. Gain will be reduced. That's how name indicates. We understand. Fine. Now, coming to various amplifiers, you have 4 types of amplifiers. In initial slides, you have seen what are those 4 types of amplifiers. Already you studied about them in class. Just we are doing the minimum recapping. That's it. Fine. Now, for a voltage amplifier with feedback, what is voltage gain? AVF. What is the formula for that? AV divided by 1 plus AV into beta. Whereas for current amplifier with feedback, the current gain is defined as I0 divided by, that's what I told you. Output current must be directly proportional to source current. That's the basic definition of current amplifier. So AF is equals to I0 divided by IS. We write this as I0 divided by IS. Now, even though I have not given the formula, that becomes, can you guess what is the formula here? What is AF? AI divided by 1 plus beta into AI. Whereas GMF for a transconductance amplifier, the gain, transfer gain with feedback is given by GM divided by, if I use negative feedback to transconductance amplifier, the gain will be modified. The new gain is given by GMF equals to transconductance with feedback equals to GM divided by 1 plus GM into beta. Similarly, RMF equals to RM divided by 1 plus beta into RM. So the first thing is the gain will be reduced. That's how gains of individual amplifiers will get affected. Now the second important thing is we can reduce the distortion in the output. The distortion can be, there could be various sources of distortion. One is nonlinear distortion. Anyhow, these two can be clubbed anyhow. Suppose, assume I have an amplifier. The output is not exactly same as input. That means there will be some harmonics present. I measured the distortion. The distortion without feedback, negative feedback, is given by D. Assume D is representing distortion without negative feedback. After introduction of negative feedback, it may be 10% distortion. Usually we speak in terms of 10% distortion, 2% distortion, 10%, 50% distortion is there. Anyhow, this is some kind of factor. Now, once I introduce feedback, let's see what will happen. The new distortion is given by 1 plus d divided by 1 plus beta into AB. That means distortion is reduced by this factor. You know what is this factor? Return difference. So usage of negative feedback reduces distortion. That's what I told in terms of knowledge. Both are same. Suppose if there is second harmonic is introduced because of amplifier, then the second harmonic distortion is represented as B2. So B2F equals to B2 divided by 1 plus beta A. So which means B2F is less than, with feedback, the distortion is less than the distortion without feedback. This is in terms of second harmonic distortion. You can do this for any harmonic distortion, no problem. So therefore, what will happen? The distortion will be reduced with negative feedback. This is beautiful aspect of negative feedback. Very, very useful a factor about negative feedback. Sometimes people may feel because of negative feedback, the gain is reduced, no problem, but distortion will be reduced. So okay, we need to pay price if I want to improve quality of my amplifier. So we are losing, I want to improve characteristics, many characteristics. I am paying price in terms of what? These gains. I am going to lose my gain, no problem. Now, this is one aspect, this is second aspect. Third important characteristic is negative feedback improves sensitivity. What is the meaning of sensitivity? Do you expect the amplifier to be more sensitive or less sensitive? I say my amplifier must be less sensitive to at any parameter variations. What do you mean by parameter variations? Okay, when amplifier is in operation, various components and their ambient temperature changes, increases. You all know the basic problem with all electron semiconductor components is they are sensitive to temperature variation. When their body temperature or when operating conditions change, means the room temperature changes, what will happen? Its behavior will also change. That means if it works for, say, for example, 3 to 4 hours or 3 to 4 days, the performance of the amplifier is affected by this temperature variation. Means output may not be as you desired. It may be something different. Output, so when temperature changes, output may also changes. In that case, I say my amplifier is sensitive to temperature variations. Do you want this? Do you want your amplifier to be sensitive to any parameter variations? No, no, absolutely not. What I expect, even temperature changes, my amplifier should behave as usual. There should not be any change in output. Either reduction in output, there should not be any reduction in output, or there should not be any increase in output. So what I am expecting is, I want my amplifier to be less sensitive with respect to variations among various parameters. That's what I mean by improving sensitivity. Improving sensitivity means I am desensitizing my amplifier with respect to parameter variations. We understand? So we have done this in class. We defined something, DAF sensitivity as DAF by this the rate of change of gain with feedback divided by rate of change of gain without feedback. Percentage change in gain with feedback divided by, it's the ratio of these two factors. So once we work with this example, you can refer your class notebooks. Everyone will find this. You will get sensitivity S as 1 by 1 plus A beta. Then we define desensitivity. Desensitivity is a reverse of sensitivity. You get this as 1 plus A beta. That's why this is already in previous slide I told you D is called as desensitivity. We understand? So what will happen? DAF by AF equals to, one can write DA by A into 1 by 1 plus A beta. That means gain, the rate of change of gain with feedback equals to rate of change of gain without feedback multiplied by 1 by 1 plus A beta, which is a quantity. 1 by 1 plus A beta is always less than 1. That means DAF by AF equals to DA by A into a quantity less than 1, which means this rate with feedback is always less than the rate with which the gain changes without feedback. So thus we can say the negative feedback reduces or desensitizes my desensitizes my amplifier with respect to parameter variations. We understand. And one more thing is the negative feedback it also reduces what? Noise. Where do you get noise in amplifier? Internal noise. Transistor produces noise, humming sound, humming noise. You can see that when you go close to a big transistor electronic devices, you can see some kind of humming noise, hissing, a kind of hissing noise. This noise is generated in resistors. Noise is generated in whenever there is electron movement. Electron movement always produces noise, and the amplifier in turn amplifies that noise also. Suppose N indicates the noise without feedback, or noise presented in output without feedback. You can also, this is also done in classroom. With feedback, the noise is reduced by N divided by 1 plus beta, A beta. See, all the examples, everywhere with feedback, you are getting this quantity in denominator. What is this quantity? D in denominator. Here, from here, the gain decreases by 1 plus A beta. Similarly, distortion is also reduced by 1 plus A beta, and the sensitivity is improved. The same factor comes here. Again, with feedback, the noise becomes the noise without feedback divided by this 1 plus A beta terms plays vital role everywhere. This is very, very important quantity. That's why we call it as D. So NF becomes N by D. D is always greater than 1. That's what we say for negative feedback. So NF is less than N. Noise will also be reduced. And bandwidth is another important thing is bandwidth is improved. By losing gain, we are getting so many advantages. Sorry. So this is the frequency response of an amplifier, any particular amplifier without any arbitrary amplifier without feedback. And lower cutoff frequency is given by F1, upper cutoff frequency is given by F2. Now to the same amplifier, assume you have applied feedback. What will happen? Gain is reduced. Do you understand? The lower cutoff frequency shifted to left side, upper cutoff frequency will be after feedback, and the upper cutoff frequency will be shifted to right side. That means F2 prime here indicates upper cutoff frequency with feedback. F2 prime is always greater than F2. F1 prime is always less than F1. Without feedback, what is bandwidth? F2 minus F1. With feedback, what is bandwidth? F2 prime minus F1 prime. Now the lower, in principle, the lower cutoff frequency is affected like this. The lower cutoff frequency equals to lower cutoff frequency without feedback divided by 1 plus A beta. Same factor comes here. Similarly, FH prime equals to FH into, it is multiplied. That means FH prime is greater than FH, FL prime is less than FH, so that the overall bandwidth, this becomes almost zero. That means I'm going to get flat response even from lowest frequency with feedback, with proper negative feedback. We understand? So bandwidth with feedback equals to bandwidth without feedback into 1 plus beta times A. That means bandwidth is increased. This is another advantage. Only disadvantage, at least I say, for negative feedback is we are going to lose gain. Without feedback, the gain is, say, for example, 100. If I introduce 10% feedback, means D is something like 10. So what will happen? The new gain becomes only 10. Instead of 100, you are going to get 10. That's how it happens in terms of gain. But there could be so many advantages. One disadvantage, you will lose gain. Many advantages, like you can reduce distortion, you can improve sensitivity, you can reduce noise, you can increase bandwidth. So these are the characteristics of negative feedback. There are some more characteristics. At the beginning, I told you I can use negative feedback to make a voltage amplifier into a good voltage amplifier. We will look at that part. So negative feedback has impact on input and output resistance also. Sometimes the input resistance will be increased. Sometimes, if by application of negative feedback, I can increase input resistance or I can decrease input resistance. Similarly, I can increase output resistance or I can decrease output resistance. So to understand that aspect, now it's time to look at classification of feedback amplifiers. This is the classification of not amplifiers. This is the classification corresponding to feedback amplifiers. Now, at the beginning, when we have introduced feedback, we talked in terms of sampling network and mixing network. Here, the sampling network has only connection. What kind of connection here? This connection is made parallel to load, or this connection is made parallel to V0. This particular type of sampling is called as voltage sampling. What is this sampling? Voltage sampling. So what I'm doing, I'm taking entire output voltage to beta network. Beta network modifies that. So this sampling is called as voltage sampling. Here also this sampling is called as voltage sampling. Now what happens? This is different sampling where entire output current, what is output current here? I0. Entire output current is entering into beta network. Whereas here entire output voltage is entering into beta network. Here entire output current is entering into beta network. This sampling is known as current sampling or series sampling. The name under current sampling or you can call it as series sampling. Here the output quantity or input quantity to beta network is voltage. The input quantity to the beta network is voltage, whereas the input quantity of interest to the beta network is output current. Entire output current enters into beta network. Here also entire output current is entering into beta network. This type of sampling is called as current sampling, and this type of parallel ga unte parallel ga connections తీసుకుంటే దాన్ని మనం ఏమంటామంటే వోల్టేజ్ సాంప్లింగ్ అంటాం. సిరీస్ లో అవుట్పుట్ సైడ్ నుంచి సిరీస్ లో కనుక బీటా నెట్వర్క్ కనెక్ట్ చేస్తే బీటా నెట్వర్క్ ఇన్పుట్ ని అవుట్పుట్ కి సిరీస్ లో కనెక్ట్ చేస్తే దాన్ని ఏమంటామంటే కరెంట్ సాంప్లింగ్ అంటాం. Now there is another part, mixing part. Until now we discussed about sampling part. Let's look at mixing part. Now this is mixer side. You can observe mixer side, you have connected feedback signal in series with the input voltage, and the feedback signal is connected parallel to the input. This mixing is called as series mixing. This mixing is called as shunt mixing. Series mixing. So in series mixing, what our aim is to modify input voltage. In shunt mixing, our aim is to modify input current. So when you connect parallelly, input voltage will be same here also, input voltage will be same here also. Whereas when you mix like this, input voltage will be changed. Here input current will be changed. So therefore there are two types of mixing. What are they? Series mixing. This is series mixing and this is shunt mixing. There are two types of sampling: voltage sampling, current sampling, series mixing, shunt mixing. Based on all these aspects, we divide feedback amplifiers into either positive feedback amplifiers or negative, whatever it is. The feedback amplifiers are classified as four types: voltage series, voltage shunt, current series, current shunt and current series. The first, this particular name has two words: voltage series. The foremost word corresponding to type of sampling. When I say voltage series, it has voltage sampling. When I say current series, it has current sampling. It speaks about some type of sampling. Whereas the second word speaks about type of mixing. Series mixing. This is what series mixing. Okay, now. So therefore, obviously, what is this particular diagram representing? This is a voltage series feedback. Why? I have taken output voltage and I am trying to change input voltage. So therefore, I have mixed in series. This is the voltage series. Moreover, important thing is this particular, to get advantage of negative feedback, this particular type of feedback is preferred for voltage amplifier. You can give it to any other amplifier, but to get maximum advantage out of negative feedback, this is preferred. This is suitable for voltage amplifier. So therefore, this basic A represents voltage amplifier. Now I have used voltage series feedback. In voltage series feedback, we always employ this feedback to, most of the times we apply this feedback to voltage amplifier. You know what is voltage amplifier? In previous slides, we have seen what is voltage amplifier, what is schematic, etc. etc. Whereas coming to current amplifier, what I am doing, I am sampling current, output current. So output quantity of interest is current. Again, I am mixing in shunt, parallel. That means my input current changes. I am taking the output current, and I am changing my input current. So obviously, this is suitable for, better suited for current amplifier. So this type A is representing current amplifier, and I have used current shunt feedback. Current shunt feedback. Always first term represents, though we expect first term must be input side. No. First term represents sampling quantity, second term represents mixing quantity. Current shunt. My beta network is taking entire output current. Similarly, this is the representation of what? Voltage shunt. You are taking output voltage, then you are changing input current. Now tell me, to which basic amplifier this is preferred? This is here A is current amplifier, A is voltage amplifier, here A is current amplifier. Then what is this A? We are left with two more amplifiers, transresistance and transconductance. My question is, to which basic amplifier this is preferred? Voltage shunt feedback is preferred. Can you recollect? What is output quantity? Current or voltage? What is output quantity here? Voltage, output voltage. What I'm changing? Input current. So therefore, this is preferred for trans resistance amplifier. A represents trans resistance. Similarly, current series feedback amplifier, basic amplifier. This is current series feedback amplifier. Basic amplifier is trans conductance amplifier. So at most of the times, suppose if you take 4 sets, at least in 2 sets, you make, at least in 1 set, I'd say 25% probability is there for this question. You are supposed to draw various feedback topologies. You may be asked to draw various feedback topologies. Do you understand? You have to write all these names and you have to draw all these diagrams. You can find them in your notebooks. Now, what are the effects of negative feedback on input and output resistance? What are the effects? So input resistance always increases with series mixing, decreases with shunt mixing. When we perform series mixing, input resistance with feedback increases, whereas for shunt mixing it decreases. Coming to output resistance, resistance increases for current sampling, output resistance decreases for output resistance increases for current sampling, and it decreases for, this is a wrong statement. Please note this. This must be voltage. I should say this must be voltage. Where is the cursor? Where is the pen? Anyhow, let's leave it here. It decreases for, please note here I should write voltage sampling. Now let's check here. What I said, input resistance increases for series mixing. So therefore, out of 4 topologies, you can guess for which of them input resistance increases. For voltage series feedback amplifier as well as for current series, the name consists of series. Whenever we have series here, input resistance, you must remember RIF with feedback always increases by the factor D. So for first case and fourth case, input resistance increases. Whereas for second case and third, here the mixing is done in shunt fashion. So therefore, the input resistance with feedback is always less than input resistance without feedback. That is, RIF is less than RA. Here RIF is greater than RA. So that's the effect of negative feedback and input resistance. Coming to output resistance, what next slide shown you? The output resistance decreases will be decreased if I make what? Voltage sampling. It will be increased for current sampling. Out of these four, these two are having current sampling. So therefore, the name starts with current. So in these two cases, what will happen? Output resistance with feedback increases. Whereas for these two types of feedback topologies, the output resistance decreases. The rule is like this. For voltage sampling, output resistance decreases. For current sampling, output resistance increases. Please note that. Do you understand? So this is another most probable question in your exams. So many times you may be asked to draw a schematic diagram of voltage series amplifier and show that RIF, or find the value of RIF and find the value of R0 for four types of topologies. For voltage series, voltage shunt, current series, and current shunt. We have done this in class. This is very, very, very important question. I give maximum weightage to this question. Effect of negative feedback and input and output resistance. All of them are worked in our class. Please go through them. So until now, we have discussed about first part of unit 3. Most of the times, A part in your exams, we only get from these topics. Luckily, in some cases, B part also confined to all these effects, characteristics of negative feedback. Until now, we have seen general characteristics of negative feedback. Occasionally, in B part, you may get practical feedback amplifier analysis. This is a bit difficult part, not difficult. I don't say this is difficult. This is somewhat there involves a kind of analysis here. You need to do some kind of analysis. The analysis basically consists of identification of type of feedback. Given an amplifier, what type of feedback is there? You need to identify. Then you need to find parameters like input resistance, output resistance, voltage gain or current gain, trans resistance with feedback for a given amplifier. So amplifier analysis can be performed in many ways. At low frequencies, you can replace transistor with H parameter model, and then you can draw some kind of equivalent circuit and find all those. That's one kind of analysis. But there is a different analysis. Some of the problems can be easily performed using feedback analysis. For example, take this amplifier. What is this amplifier? This is CC amplifier. Whereas this CE amplifier with feedback resistance, RE. When you perform general analysis, it becomes a time-taking problem. Really, time-taking problem. It takes a lot of time because of presence of RE. So one can do normal analysis, takes a lot of time, or you can use brain. You can go for Miller theorem, and you can reduce its analysis time. Fine. Or else I can perform feedback analysis where amplifier parameters like RI, R0, AI, AV can be performed using feedback concepts, which is known as analysis of feedback amplifiers, practical feedback analysis. This is well covered. This particular topic is well covered. If you take any textbook, this particular topic is best written in Millman and Hakias, Integrated Electronics by Millman Hakias. Those who are not confident of networks, please leave this topic. Confined to this up to this point. Who want to score? Who want to be perfect? This is an easy chapter. This is a simple chapter, negative feedback. Until now, this is very simple. So those who want to score 100 out of 100 from this chapter, maybe out of 4 sets, at least in 2 sets, you may get questions from these 4 circuits. There are 4 problems you need to work with. So for those who want to strive, who are striving for perfection, please work with these problems. Now, these problems consist of, first of all, what we do is we try to find what kind of feedback, then we try to remove feedback from the circuit. So when you remove feedback from the circuit, it becomes an amplifier without feedback. We try to find all those parameters. Then we use feedback formulas to find input resistance, current, output resistance. What happens to input resistance? It may be increased by factor D, it may be decreased by factor D. So feedback analysis, in feedback analysis, what we do, in first step, we remove feedback. We find Ri, R0, the gains. Then what we do, we use feedback concept to find RIF, R0F, AF. How to find RIF? Simple. Previous RI without feedback divided by, you need to find D. What is D? 1 plus A beta. So this analysis makes simple. Analysis is very simple. But the thing is, you must be careful while identifying the feedback. I have given you 4 circuits. Can you identify what is the type of feedback? There is a layman way, but I don't speak layman terms. In classroom, I can speak in my own words, but here I can't speak. Anyhow, layman language. Anyhow, let's take this example. This is my output. This is a CC amplifier. This is my output. Now what happens? This RE provides feedback. This is input side. This is output side. RE is placed in common to input side and output side. Suppose if I keep short circuit here, I simply say there is no link between input side and output side. There is no feedback. But there is a resistor. Essentially, in CC amplifier, this acts as a load. So there is relation between this RE provides feedback. Now, what kind of feedback? This is a feedback network. In this case, this is a feedback network. What is input to feedback network? Entire output. Entire output is given to feedback network. So what type of sampling is this? This is voltage sampling. This is voltage, please note this. This is voltage sampling. Now, with how it is being mixed, is it changing input voltage or input current? It comes in series with input. When it comes in series with input side, if you look at this, input node, is this connected to input node or input loop? It is connected to input loop. So what does it mean? This is an example of what? Voltage series feedback amplifier. What kind of feedback is that? Voltage series. So if you're not clear about it, this, let's come to next one. Let's look at this circuit. This is a CE amplifier with emitter bypass, emitter resistance. Now we try to identify feedback. Is there any, first question, is there any feedback? Yes, there is feedback. This is common to input side and this RE is common to input side and output side. Here also RE is there, but here across RE I am taking output. My output is not across RE. My output is taken across common. It is common emitter amplifier. Output is taken across collector. Now let's try to identify type of feedback. What is the nature of feedback? Am I giving entire output voltage to this? No. So therefore, it is coming series with the output. The sampling is coming series with, whereas the sampling is parallel, shunt. Entire output voltage is taken. Rather, the current here is same as the current here. What is current here? IC. What is current here? IE. Of course, we know IC is almost same as IE. That means input to feedback, the current to current at the input of feedback network is same as output current. So therefore, what kind of sampling is this? This is current sampling. Whereas this comes in series. Therefore, this is an example of what? Current series feedback. This amplifier has, this is using current series feedback. We understand? Now coming here, this is the feedback element. Entire output voltage is fed back. So what will happen? This is essentially What kind of sampling? This is voltage sampling, whereas it modifies input current. This is not in input loop, rather it is connected to input node. So therefore, we say this is voltage. This is an example of voltage and feedback amplifier. Now, particularly you can check this. This is current shunt feedback amplifier. So what we are expecting is we have done at least analysis of this problem, this problem, this problem in classroom. Leave it here. Please try to work with these three problems. Since because there is no blackboard, I can perform analysis here and follow the steps that are given in class notebook and work with these three problems so that it guarantees 100% score in third chapter. You get 100% score from third chapter. What are the important topics? First thing is, what is feedback? What are the types of feedback? What are basic types of feedback? Positive and negative feedback. Okay, you may be asked to answer this. This is a rare question, very simple, rather simple question. The second question is, this has a bit more weightage than previous question. What are the various elements of feedback network? You need to draw this one. You need to explain about all these parts. Do you understand? Third question is, what is the impact of feedback and gain? So you need to derive this expression. Okay, sometimes you may get problems on this part. At least in class we have worked with simple examples. There are simple numericals. This is third question. You may be asked to find AF. What is AF? You can at least in two chapters, two subjects. Control systems we have done this. In EC also we have done this. The gain with feedback is equals to A by 1 plus A beta. Then apart from these three questions, two important questions are there. One is effect of negative feedback and various characteristics, like what happens to gain, distortion, what happens to sensitivity, what happens to noise, what happens to bandwidth. These are general characteristics. Feed me the feedback, a negative feedback effect in the or else. Fifth question is, you may be asked about all these topologies. May be asked about various types of feedback networks. Okay, this is important. More importantly, what is the effect of negative feedback on input resistance and output resistance? This has 50% probability. This particular topic. There are 6 questions until now. The 7th question for 7th part means B part. For A part you have 6 questions. For B part only you have 3 questions. Please work with them. Please work with them. So hardly this chapter has 9 questions. Feedback analysis of this amplifier, feedback analysis of this amplifier, and this amplifier 3 questions, and previously you have 6 questions. If you are perfect with these 9 questions, along with those numerical examples that were found in your notebook, class notebook, you will get full score in this chapter. This is a simple chapter. 9 questions plus 3 problems, hardly 3 problems, 3 or 4 problems. It's very easy to read 13 questions for any from any unit. Okay, coming to next chapter. This is an example of this is the application of positive feedback, oscillators. Better oscillators గురించి నేను మాట్లాడడం కంటే మీకు వదిలేస్తే బెస్ట్. ఎందుకంటే క్లాస్ రూమ్ లో 6 క్వశ్చన్స్ వచ్చాయి. కానీ ఇక్కడ చెప్పడం కంటే మీరు ఆల్రెడీ బాగా చదివేసిన, ఈజీగా చదివేసే చాప్టర్, అందరు స్టూడెంట్స్ అంతా బాగా లైక్ చేసే చాప్టర్. ఎగ్జామ్ పాయింట్ ఆఫ్ వ్యూలో ఆల్వేస్ oscillators. That's why I have not given much weightage in this particular revision for oscillators. So what are the basic questions? (418), please mute your mic. Sirisha, please mute your mic. In oscillators, what is an oscillator? What is the difference between amplifier and oscillator? An amplifier, you energize your amplifier with DC power, then you get which we call it as biasing, then we give some kind of input, AC input, you get more AC output. What happens here? To the given input, it takes DC energy which is converted into, which will be added to AC energy. Whereas the oscillator, you don't give any input, rather the DC energy is converted into AC energy. AC energy is amplified with the help of DC energy. DC energy is converted into AC energy in case of oscillator. So basically oscillator is a circuit which generates AC waveform without any input. Without any input means for any amplifier you need DC. The DC energy must be for all electronic circuits. Okay, I don't need any AC input here. Still, I am going to get AC output. So, what is an oscillator? Oscillator is a source of AC voltage or AC current. And then we speak about what sinusoidal oscillators. Oscillators could be sinusoidal oscillators, non-sinusoidal oscillators. The sinusoidal oscillator flow output is sinusoidal waveform. Where you use them? You use in communications. Always you speak in terms of you speak about carrier. Carrier is a sine wave, always sine wave. There you need an oscillator to generate sine waves or to generate carrier for analog communications. You need an oscillator. And then this particular slide talks about Barkhausen criteria in terms of phase. Please go through Barkhausen criteria. Very, very, very important question. Do you understand? Okay, fine. And coming back to types of oscillators, sinusoidal, there are essentially sinusoidal oscillators, non-sinusoidal oscillators. Sinusoidal oscillators are usually called as resonant oscillators. We call sinusoidal oscillators as resonant oscillators because they produce only single frequency. They are tuned to produce single frequency at its output, which is a sine wave. That's why they are called as resonant oscillators. There are non-resonant oscillators which are out of this out of scope of this particular course. Some of them you may be studied in PDC, like multivibrators, generates square wave. Square wave has multiple frequencies. Similarly, there is something called Smith trigger, and there is something called relaxation oscillator which generates triangular wave. So those are also oscillators, but they are not part of this course. They are not basically essentially sinusoidal oscillators are the consequence of positive feedback. In those non-sinusoidal oscillators, the oscillating phenomena is something different. Here in sinusoidal oscillators, we use positive feedback. Okay, these parts basically oscillators. We in this particular course, when I say oscillator, I only speak about sinusoidal oscillators. Basically, the sinusoidal oscillators are classified as RC oscillators, LC oscillators, crystal oscillators. RC oscillators are also known as phase shift oscillators. Wien-Dirichlet oscillator is also part of phase shift oscillators. RC phase shift oscillators. Fine. And of course, this is something illustrating the A beta Barkhausen criteria. I am leaving Barkhausen criteria for you. Okay. Now I'm leaving initial part. This is very simple. I need not explain all those things. And where do you find them? Oscillators in CPUs, phones, everywhere you will find oscillators. And this is the. I'm not going to explain about any particular topic of oscillators because they are all self-explanatory. You have done enough work in classroom. Just refer your class notebook. There are 4 important tutorials regarding practical oscillators. One is RC phase shift oscillator using BJT and its analysis. You need to find all these values. And then RC phase shift oscillator using FET. You have to work with this problem. This is a simple, it's like a network problem. And you have to find frequency of oscillation. Here, frequency of oscillation, even though this is not given here. Anyhow, what is the frequency of oscillator for BJT version? Something 1 by 2 pi root 6 plus 4k into RC. Whereas for FET oscillator, it comes around 1 by 2 pi CR into root 6. Then the basic amplifier, this one is basic amplifier, this is beta network or feedback network. Okay, fine. This basic amplifier must have minimum gain of 29 for FET, whereas the transistor for BJT oscillator, the transistor must be selected whose HFP must be greater than 45. Then you know what is K? K is RC by R. Please refer your notebooks. This is one. There are two questions. One question is this analysis. The second question is this analysis. And third question is Wien-Bridge oscillator analysis. All are very simple. Hardly one or some of them may take 2 or more pages. Okay. These three questions are very, very important. Then coming to this LC oscillators, please go for Colpitt's oscillator. You have to perform general oscillator. That's not important. You need to look at the frequency of oscillator of Colpitt's oscillator. You need to look at the frequency of oscillator of Hartley oscillator. You know, okay. You have to draw Colpitt's oscillator, Hartley oscillator, and you need to derive this expression. There are two. You need to two expressions. You can find this x1 plus x plus x3 equals 0. The second one is there is something called minus a beta must be greater than this one. You have to take this must be greater than 1, the Barkhasen criteria. So please work with this. I need not speak much about them. Then there is crystal oscillator. Please go through crystal properties. And this is an example of this is the circuit Pierce crystal oscillator, where in a Hartley oscillator I can use my crystal in place of inductor. What is the basic advantage crystal oscillator? Crystal provides the L values and C values essentially changes are most of the times this L may not have high quality factor, whereas the crystal will have large quality factor. Hence crystal generates stable output frequency. Oscillator lo once మనం 1 megahertz oscillator design చేసాం అనుకోండి, always we expect output frequency should be always 1 megahertz. ఇది అంత స్టేబుల్ గా అదే ఉండాలి ఫర్ ఇయర్స్, బేసిక్ ఐడియా. బట్ జనరల్ గా వీటిలో ఏంటంటే అది సమ్ టైమ్స్ డ్యూ టు టెంపరేచర్ ఎఫెక్ట్స్ కావచ్చు, ఇంకే వేరే ఎఫెక్ట్స్ కావచ్చు, కొన్నిసార్లు ఏమైనా ఫెయిల్ అయిన కాంపోనెంట్స్ రిప్రజెంట్ చేయడం వల్ల కావచ్చు, ఏజింగ్ ఎఫెక్ట్స్ వల్ల కావచ్చు, అవుట్పుట్ ఫ్రీక్వెన్సీ టెండింగ్ టు చేంజ్. It may not be remaining at 1 megahertz always. So if you go for crystal oscillator, it maintains at 1 megahertz better than or it provides stable output frequency. So that's why we prefer crystal oscillators in many practical applications like in CPUs and phones everywhere. Whenever you have a board, you go for crystal oscillator. This is an important question. Crystal oscillator is important question. Crystal oscillator is costly because crystal is costly, but it provides stable output frequency. So coming to oscillators, the important questions are, you may be asked to speak about how positive feedback provides or generates sine waves at its outputs. That means Barkhasen. You need to speak about the Barkhasen criteria. Then general theory of RC phase shift oscillator. What is this beta network? Why we need to take 3 Cs and 3 Rs? What is the purpose of each one? What is the purpose of basic amplifier? Basically, most of the times 180 degree phase shift. Barkhasen criteria says total phase in this loop must be 360 degrees. That's what Barkhasen phase criteria says. So since if I take C amplifier, it gives 180 degree phase. To make 0, I have to use a network, beta network, which gives another 180 degree phase shift, etc., etc. You are familiar with this. It's better I keep quiet about all these things. That is, I speak in terms of number of questions. This is first question, Barkhasen criteria. Second question is BJT version of RC phase shift oscillator. Third question is FET version. Fourth question is Wien-Bridge oscillator. Fifth and sixth questions are Hartley and Colpitt's oscillators. Seventh question is crystal oscillator. There are 7 questions, and there should be some 3 or 4 illustrative examples. Work with all those 7 questions and 3 illustrative examples. It comes around 10. This is easy. Apart from 3rd chapter and 6th chapter, tuned amplifiers, that's also a simple chapter. There are basically 6 questions. So this is another important chapter where number of questions, the scope is less. Do you understand? So for exams, go for 3rd chapter, go for 4th chapter, 6th chapter, and 1st chapter. You can at least score 90% of the marks. First, stress is given to 4, 6, 3, 1. Whatever you have in your class notes, please work with all topics. It gives you 90 to 95% marks. So until now we have finished discussion on 1, 2, 3, 4. If at all, if I find any other session, I go for straight away 6 chapter, tuned amplifiers. Very simple chapter. Hardly there are 4 or 5 questions, and easily you can easily score in final exams. So that's it for now. All the best. Thank you. I'm leaving the session.
Yes.
Any question? Now you can turn on your mics. If there are any questions, you can ask. I hope there won't be any questions. Bye bye.